In the late 1690s, Scotland attempted to build its own overseas empire, a bold colonial venture in Central America known as the Darien Scheme. It was ambitious, dramatic, and ultimately disastrous. This is the story of how a single failed expedition helped shape the fate of an entire nation and brought Scotland one step closer to joining with England. By the 1690s, Scotland was facing severe economic hardship. The country had suffered through failed harvests, famine, and financial instability. In response, Scottish leaders and investors looked abroad for opportunity. He persuaded the Scottish Parliament and people to invest, and invest they did. Nearly a quarter of all the wealth in Scotland was poured into the venture. The idea was to establish a trading colony on the Isthmus of Panama at a place called Darien, linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It would become a hub of international trade, rival with the English and Spanish empires, and make Scotland a global power. The land was unsuitable for farming, and trade with local populations and neighboring colonies was nearly impossible, especially because the English government, wary of upsetting Spain, forbade its own colonies from offering any help. Of the roughly 2,500 people who took part in the expeditions, the majority never returned. The scheme was the brainchild of William Paterson, a Scottish financier and one of the founders of the Bank of England. Access to English markets and colonial protection became far more attractive after the collapse of Scotland's own imperial dreams. The newly formed Company of Scotland raised enough funds to send 5 ships and around 1,200 settlers to Central America in 1698. But from the beginning, the Darien expedition was plagued by disaster. There's always more to uncover beneath the surface of the past. The survivors eventually abandoned the settlement and sailed home, only to pass another wave of settlers heading out, unaware that the colony had already failed. The settlers arrived to find an unforgiving jungle, tropical diseases, and hostile conditions. Within months, disease and starvation had taken a terrible toll. Hundreds died. By 1700, the Darien Scheme had collapsed completely. The economic consequences were devastating. Scotland had staked its future on Darien and lost. The national mood was one of bitterness and ruin. Some historians argue that the financial desperation created by the failure played a major role in the 1707 Act of Union, when Scotland and England joined to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. The Darien Scheme remains one of the most ambitious failures in Scottish history, a cautionary tale of bold ideas, bad planning, and geopolitical isolation. If you're interested in the real stories behind history's turning points, make sure to subscribe for more.